So thank you very much coming for after the lunch. I'll just do like quick exercise. If you hear my voice, can you please clap once? If you hear my voice, clap twice. If you hear my voice, clap 3 times. And 4 times. Thank you. That's beautiful. Well, so I'm really glad, actually I have to say this first at the beginning of my presentation, that I really appreciate you coming here when Armin is in the next room. When the organizers told me that my slot is at the same time as him, I was like, sure, he's like a cool guy. And then I Googled him and I found out he has his own wiki page, which is more than 3 sentences long. So there's a superstar, and I'm so grateful that you came here to hear me talking about the open source when this guy is in the next room. So I would like to start with the open source world. Is there any newbie who doesn't know who open source is? Well, perfect. I love educating this audience. How this? Okay. This works towards. Well, sorry, technical issues. Well, okay. Maybe we don't have slides today. Can somebody help me with this computer? Anyway, okay, I'll start without the sabotaging slides for me. Well, open source world is everywhere. You might not know if you're using open source, even though it's practically everywhere. The big companies are running on the open source. Not everything is open source. There's also closed source code, which we don't like, of course, because we want to know what's going on. Yeah, thank you. And you might not know, like, you are pretty sure you got an Android phone. That's open source. You can contribute to. When I was trying to explain my grandmother what is open source or what actually internet is in general, I was actually showing her on her smartphone. She's pretty cool. She got her smartphone like 2 years ago. But when I started to explain that the open source code is that you can contribute, and then I could actually personally change the thing which she's got in her smartphone, she looked at me and she showed me the screen and she was like, do you see this, Ellie? You can't do that because my phone is locked. So that's not open source. She's brilliant. I love her. She's brilliant. My grandparents are brilliant, but, you know, like, yeah. They think I'm like wasting my life because I'm not baking cookies. Well, thank you. We could actually introduce my new assistant, Eliš, here. He's beautiful and talented. Thank you. Thank you. So, if you have never contributed the open source, there's a lot of stuff going on. It can be a big ocean full of sharks. I actually mentioned that earlier, that there are so many projects, you don't know where to start. On most of the people don't know where to start, especially the newcomers and new coders. When opensource.com did some survey, more than 50% people mentioned they don't know where to start, and then the next biggest answers, or the main answers, were they're really ashamed, or they think they can't do it. They don't think they can contribute. They haven't learned enough yet. That's not true. You can actually contribute even though when you're a beginner, like when you're real beginner. You can start with documentation where you learn a lot about, not just about the project, but actually about the whole process, how this thing works, how you can write a simple piece of thing. It doesn't have to be even a code. It could be a simple information, and you can create a PR, push it, and somebody can merge it, and you're gonna have your first contribution to the open world. I love the new technology. So I'm going to be mentioning probably just GitHub because this is like the most famous thing. And this chart, or this screenshot, is a chart of contribution. This one is actually Armin's. So when I was Googling him, I thought, like, he is a great superstar. He created a lot of stuff. He contributed to the world amazingly. Like, look at this chart. Look at this chart. My chart is white. And he created the whole new framework, which is super popular. And he developed a lot of amazing stuff. All I developed is addiction to funny shoes. But still, if you contribute and if you become consistent, you can have this lovely chart as Armin has. It doesn't have to be 3,000 entries a year, but you can become a superhero. You can learn a lot. And the more you contribute, the more you're visible, and the bigger portfolio you're building. 1, 2, 3. So, most of the beginners are asking, where should they start? Like, should I just Google any project, or should I go to GitHub? Well, yeah, you can go to GitHub and then like look at the repositories. I did that a couple years ago as well. It was a lovely story. I felt really hopeful because I was preparing almost 2 weeks to contribute to my first project. And I looked some project and they had a lot of issues labeled like beginners friendly and documentation and bug fixes. It was super cool, but I didn't really investigate further. So I did my first PR and I was really excited. And I was refreshing the page every 20 seconds, like when somebody is coming and commenting on my PR, when they're merging in, so I can show it to my grandma, like, hey, grandma, this is like my piece of code on the internet. And she would be like, what's that? I don't know. But still. Well, probably a month later, when I was really depressed that I did something bad, I realized that the project was dead. Nobody else was working on that. They didn't even read the PRs. So this is like advice number 1. If you're looking at the projects and you want to contribute, make sure they're alive, that there are still people contributing to that. There's a great thing on the GitHub that, well, not only on the GitHub, they can show you the last PR or the last activity at the project. And if that's like more than 6 months ago, it's probably not worth it. Yeah, you could feel depressed like I did, but no, okay, I took some pills, so. Well, already mentioned GitHub, but does anybody know what the green stuff is? With the green circle? Yes, I see a man over there. I think it's Mr. Kral. I don't want your answer. Thank you. But like, he is another superstar. Thank you. You may leave the room now. That's the open source initiative, or like the project itself. It's a great way to start. If you go to opensource.com or .org, you have a great guidelines how to become open source contributor, and not just as only that you would be contributing to foreign projects, but also how to start your own project and how not to waste your energy on some useful thing that would be just like playground for you and wouldn't be contributing to anyone, but you can create community with that, and that's pretty amazing. The other thing, as I already mentioned, like explore the GitHub. They have a lot of charts. They have also trending projects, and if you, for example, look at the Python repositories, they're still open to contributions, even for newbies. And the great thing is, if you go and look and actually search according to labels, you can find even some hidden treasures that people have created their own projects, but they got stuck. They created some issues. They could be beginner friendly, so you can help them, and then you can befriend them. And other thing I want to mention is Mozilla Developers Network. That's a great source where to look. Mozilla, they have a lot of projects which are newbies friendly. It's an amazing place where you can actually learn the technologies, not only search for the project, but learn the technologies. You can get the mentors there, and you can be recognized. And if you're recognized, you're going to be a big star, like the guy over there. I love this, how fast we are. So as I already mentioned, that if you go and want to join a project which is no longer alive, it could be very frustrating. But probably the good thing or the good projects are if you're joining some communities which are having, I don't know, workshops, for example, DjangoGirls or PyLadies or RailsGirls or DataGirls, they all have their source, or they all have some repositories where they put their sources or their elections, or they like event websites, and they usually are like community-driven and enthusiastic-driven. I don't know how to say that. They were made in free time with no intention of a profit, just for the good of humanity. They're actually the place where you can contribute the most because people will appreciate that. And actually, if you help community like this, you're gonna make the world a little bit better place. I know it sounds cliche, but it's gonna feel good. You're gonna feel good. If you're gonna fix them something like a broken layout on the mobile, maybe they don't know how to fix it. Maybe the repositories was made by beginners itself, and they might need your help. If you're not a beginner, they're gonna really appreciate it. And maybe like you're gonna change their lives as well. I know it sounds cliche again, but it's true. Well, some actually, I would say, concrete sources are very specific. What I like is a couple of projects, especially the first one, first timers only. I came across this a couple months ago, and I thought it's a great initiative. Firsttimersonly.com. It's a page which is created by people who want to help people to learn developing, and they are posting their projects where you should begin or how you should begin, how to look for the project, and actually what to look for example, like code of conduct and stuff like that. First Timers Only is great inspiration because, not just inspiration, but they have a lot of sources and a lot of articles and just great sources. I love that. I love that site a lot. Even though you may say it's not for you, go and have a look and you might contribute as well. The second thing, your first PR. It's genius. Your first PR is the thing you want to know and which you want to support. It's like perfect. I don't know who created it. There's actually, I think it's a girl behind it. I don't remember the name, but it's perfect. I'm sorry that I'm like excited, but it's like the best thing in the internet right now. Your first PR. Every time somebody asks me, like, hey, I would like to create something for the world, you know, and I would like to have something on my GitHub. I don't want to have white dashboard. I wanted the green dot. I'm saying like go to your first PR. It's also Twitter account, and it's perfect. They are still updating like very often. They're posting projects, different kind of projects with label for first commerce or for newbies, or that it's beginners friendly with all of these labels. Your first PR is doing such a great job. I'm not paid, this is not PP, but I just love that, and you have to know that. Other thing which I also mentioned before, opensource.com, or other, like Wikipedia, what is actually open source, what is good for, the code of conduct, how to do your first repository, what license you should use, because the open source doesn't mean you just go and put something online and everybody else can steal it, basically, and make a business out of it. You can put a license, open source license. I'm not going to mention all of the licenses, but probably like the most used license, I guess, would be MIT, and there is a lot of other licenses. You can have a look at that, at the open source, or GitHub, actually. And of course, the Google. If you really want to contribute, you have to find or you have to search for the right project for you. work in a project which doesn't feel right or doesn't talk. If you don't feel okay with the project you would like to contribute to, why even do it? Just because it's got beginner's friendly label? Well, there's a dozen of the project, so just Google that. Google is really good, but you have to Google really deep, because if you just Google your first PR, you're gonna get probably some marketing stuff. It's not really good. We have to call Google to change that. Thank you. Eliš is very talented. I don't know what he's doing here. But if you get to contribution, you might get stuck. You might feel overwhelmed that the project, that there's too much of the project, that there's too much of the issues. If you come to a project where there's like, I don't know, 300, 600 issues, where you should choose, where you should start. Well, actually, it's not, you should like take deep breath and calm down and go with your gut, like go with the issue which you think you actually have to have some idea how to fix that, or you know how do you approach that, but you don't know how to develop exactly. Well, you can ask someone. For example, Eliš. Well, working on an open source project, it's not working alone. You might be sitting in your living room alone with a Coke, maybe your cat, or 10 cats, but I don't have a cat. Maybe yeah. You'll never know. I don't. But if you get stuck with your computer in your living room or working office or whatever, then you feel like you should do something because today I don't have any green dot, but you don't know how to push or how to develop that issue or to fix that issue. Just befriend somebody who is on the same project. Somebody active, I would suggest, because they could be another 30 people who contributed once a year ago and that they're no longer online or alive or something. You shouldn't be ashamed that if you push something, it's not good enough or they reject it. It happens. It happens a lot. Your code might be not as good, but it shouldn't hold you back. It shouldn't be holding you back from contributing, because you're gonna learn. When you started, your community gave you something, and now it's time to give to the community back, and you shouldn't be ashamed that you're not good enough yet, because you are good enough. And it's not just about the coding, you're good enough. Yeah, this is like a psychological lesson, you're good enough. Say this to yourself every day, you're good enough, more than good. So seek for the help. If you don't seek for the help, that could frustrate you. And sometimes, I already seen that, it could lead to leaving the IT just because of some rejected PR and mean people. If you have some toxic people around you, again, a psychological lesson, just cut them off of your life or the project. You can do that if it's your project. But get a friend and join the community is really a big part, and it's really big help. So? If you're paid by these people, well, then you're not a newbie. It shouldn't be your first PR, I would say. That's just my opinion. I don't want to generalize. Yeah, but if you're paid by the people and you feel they're toxic and you don't feel that you belong there because it's not good enough, just find another job or find another project. There is really no reason why to stay in the toxic environment, especially in IT. I think we can all agree that we can actually choose something we love and not to be strained to something we hate. That's not healthy because we're good enough. Well, you're ahead. Thank you. No. This is really good. When you don't want just to contribute to foreign or foreign projects or not your own projects. You can create your own. As I mentioned, you can use the license if you're worried that somebody's going to steal your code and you're going to be crying in the corner because they're going to develop next Facebook. I don't think that's going to happen, but still, you can use the license, but get your friends on the project. You might have some great idea, but you don't know how to develop it. But you started, and you're missing some features, and you have no idea where to go next. Well, build a small community around you. Build some circle of people you like, how they cooperate with you, and be nice to each other, because we're good enough. Yes. Well, my last, I would say, suggestion or advice, I want you to create. Because it's not just about developing your skills, it's about contributing, and it's also about building communities. And I think that the most powerful languages are built open source. And the great thing is that the web is not held back by just the power and some big corporations and for the purpose of earning money. But if we're gonna still have the internet in our hands, in the open source world, it's still gonna be up to date with the top technology, built with love. It's gonna be great, and I just want you to create. So please create. Thank you. Might be a little fast.
Well, thank you for a pep talk. Yeah, we are worth it, of course. But let's go to the Slido if we have any questions. I haven't seen any, but maybe something appeared in the last minute. Or if anyone from the crowd has any questions, how to do so. Is here anyone who has never done a PR before? Good. We should have some questions, right? Do we want to? Come on. Yeah, perfect.
You mentioned a few communities, and I know I could just go to the websites and look up some more. I just wanted to know if you personally know about some I could join.
That you could join.
Yeah.
Well, tell me what you love, what your heart is beating for, because you can probably join anything you...
I would love to get into data analytics.
Data analytics?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not really fond with data analytics, but if you... I can't probably tell you a concrete project, but I'm going to tell you how to Google that. No, try to have the personal approach first. If you know any data analyst or somebody from the field, they're going to know a good project. Because if you're going to Google that just by yourself, you might find a lot of the projects. And it's good if you're going to have some personal touch with a person who knows the project and who knows there's going to be some good task for you.
Thank you. Also, I'm grateful for the links. I'm definitely going through it.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. We have another question. It will be Lily.
Thanks for the talk.
Hi, I loved your talk.
Thank you. I loved yours too. It was really good. What I wanted to know is, what do you think of companies who use all green GitHub contributions as a hiring metric?
As a hiring metric?
Yeah, to hire people when they're looking to recruit.
Well, to think about it, it's a really good question. I have to use my brain for that. I don't think it's a bad thing for, like, especially, yeah, that's my opinion. I don't think it's a bad thing because I really admire the companies who don't want your CV, but who wants to know what you're capable of. what you actually can do. And if you have actually something to prove that you're good in this technology, like why not use that? And I think it's a really good approach.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for the question. Yeah, we have one in the Slido, so it will be maybe interconnected with Lily's one. It is the question that your GitHub account seems a little bit empty.
Yeah, I know
but you
that.
already told us, so...
I know that. Thank you for that. Yeah, it was when I was like suggesting the topic, I wrote a hashtag how ironic. So yeah, thank you for Googling me. Yeah, my GitHub is very empty because I was was contributing to GitHub probably like last year ago, maybe 2 years ago. And that time you couldn't, we used GitHub in the corporate world at my company, and most of the stuff was private. Now you can actually look up even the private green dots, but we moved to different stuff. So I don't contribute to open source anymore. I know, how ironic, but it's great. You should do that because I didn't do that, then you should do that. No, yeah. Lately I don't contribute to open source because I mainly speak about it. So, who doesn't do that, he teaches about it, so
Yeah,
that's what we call.
That is the contribution, the speech, right?
So you should contribute because I don't do that. So somebody else should do that. Thank you. On my behalf, thank you.
Okay, I think that, there's another raised hand.
I have a follow-up on the interview process by PRs. So what is your view on if you compare selecting somebody based on the PR, the open source contribution, versus what, for example, Google or Facebook does, like really artificial, technical questions? Do you think like one is better than other, or what do you think?
So if I correctly understand the question, you're asking if I see the difference between showing your PR and like questioning during the interview?
Yeah, like just artificial problems that are just solved on whiteboard and
Yeah,
never
you mean
got
like
it.
how much would all the windows in Seattle cost and stuff like that?
Yeah, or the way Google interviews people, right?
Well, if we're gonna be talking about
the question is like, what do you think is more precise to find out about the person if he's a good coder?
Well, that will be for further discussion, because if you go and look at somebody's PR and you don't know them personally, they might have help from somebody, or it could be a group PR, but I still think it's somehow relevant. But if Google goes and if he hires engineers, it's like 12 rounds process, and they're gonna roast you, and you're gonna almost die before you get hired. So how Google does that, it's pretty accurate, and they don't do the stupid questions anymore, like how do you fit giraffe in the fridge or something like that. That was relevant questions, very. So I actually like what Google does now. But I also think like if you have some pretty solid background in the open source, it could be really helpful. But if you want to be the real superhero engineer in a company like this, you're gonna really need to level up your game and go to the interview and get yourself roasted.
So you think that whiteboard coding is better than
Whiteboard coding?
Yeah, like what Google does, like
I think
solving
it's
problem on a whiteboard.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's okay because, like, if you see the PR or if you see the contributions, you see the ending project, or you see the, I don't know, the result. But the whiteboard or during the interview, they can actually see how you think.
Yeah, okay.
Did that answer your question?
It's disputable, but okay. Yeah. But I have another just quick question. When you choose a PR, so how do you decide for the question of exploration versus exploitation? Should you choose a project where you, with technologies you're already good at, or should you aim for something where you learn new stuff?
Well, I was mainly maining at the new developers, but when I was contributing, when I was choosing, I liked the stuff I'm good at it because that helped me, build some confidence what I'm actually good at, what I should be good at. So if that gets approved, that it's like somehow confirmation or affirmation that I can do something. But when I'm learning a new language, I still feel the thing that I'm not good enough and I shouldn't be contributing. But then I repeat to myself, I'm good enough, even though I don't master the language yet. That help?
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. If we don't have any further questions, I will thank you.
Thank you.
For a really good speech.
Thank you.